So, Fumbi, thank you so much for having us today here in Herzogenaurach with Adidas headquarters. Really excited to be here and talk about cloud and technology and your business and where you're heading.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to always have partners like yourself with us.
So we were talking about your migration into the cloud. Could you share a little bit about the story of how you've moved into the cloud and what you've done so far?
Yeah, I think that happened naturally because we started the journey on the front end, on the consumer-focused end, right? We want to be consumer-obsessed. And because of the way in which the consumers are changing, our behaviors are changing quite rapidly, it's allowed us that you have to almost be iterative pretty quickly, right? So that's the first phase. And so because of that, teams were forced, right? Not forced in a negative way, but they were forced to really kind of work together quickly so you can get the outputs much faster and quicker. The other areas saw the value of that, right? They saw the incremental value. They saw the capabilities being delivered faster and quicker. So again, it's almost kind of like, if they can do it, why can't we? The journey still continues because there are some areas where legacy systems where you still want to go agile. You still want to be iterative. You want to, deliver capabilities quicker. But that's going to take a little bit more of an art rather than a science, or science rather than art, in that respect. So it's not one size fits all. It's still evolving, and it's changing ever so rapidly. But I think it's the behavior is moving quicker. And if you think about us, every day, technology is embedded in our lives. Even my watch has an element of technology to go with it, right? Because it tracks how many times I walk and everything, checks my email on it. Imagine not having your phone, right? So we are so hooked around technology, and if you translate that into the business world, everyone is fully dependent on it. So I think that's just literally happened. And so how do we scale it? Right, to turn the organization to really look at it from an enterprise perspective is that journey. And that's a journey that both the business and the technology organizations have to embark on.
So we're talking about security in the cloud, or security in general. And so what I find fascinating in that regard is not just that we have better tools and better technology now than before, but this idea that we're finally going to get to a place where security consciousness, a culture of security, can be created all the way down into every team as a foundational practice. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, first of all, my biggest nightmare is security, and my biggest opportunity is security. So the element, because data is so pervasive, right? And we are so out there in not just the company, but just overall. We have to be secure conscious, right? And I think a responsible organization have to weed that into their process and into their mindset. And what I started to do within my organization is not just think about security as an extension, but security is incorporated in everything that we do. It's creating that awareness, it's creating that transparency. And of course, when you think about CCPA and GDPR and God knows what else is going to, HIPAA or what else is going to come into play, they've created the framework and the governance that you cannot not think about security.
Right.
But the mindset has also changed, and that's why we talked about, back to the whole skill gap. That's one of the biggest gap that we probably, as any organization, continues to work on, is because the mindset of security 10, 15 years ago is, I sit here, I tell you what you cannot do. Security experts are now saying, how do I think about how to make it easier for you? Having the best security team and experts within that helps you protect your asset is really got to be the big thing. And the board, whether the board or management, they always think. I mean, every day you open the newspaper, there's a bridge, and I think the impact of those bridge from a reputation and also financial is huge. So no responsible executive wants to actually just take the risk You take the risk, and there is an impact to it.
I used to tell my teams security is actually a quality measure, right? So it's not just an afterthought, it's a quality of the product that has to go out. And now, because of the tooling and the technology, we can actually do a much better job throughout the pipeline.
Absolutely, and then that's, they enable you to do things faster, better, but safeguard you in the best way. And that's a huge mindset shift, right? And I think the more we do that in everything that we do, the better it is. People used to think about security just being the guard by your door. In some cases, you need it, but physically and literally, right? Because they used to be, you want to do this? No. You want to do that? No, right? And now it's almost like, oh, how do I help you, right? And actually, we've actually even taken it to the next level. We incorporate security experts into our development teams, right? So they are part. They're not just the checks and the balances afterward, they're part of that process. And I think that's really the key piece. And I think that's what most people need to get.
That's extraordinary.
Yeah.
When you think about rapid product development, physical product development, it mirrors what we're doing in IT in terms of rapid software development. So you've touched a couple of times on this idea of working very closely with the business. This is a topic I'm personally very interested in. How do you get close to the business as an IT leader? How do you have conversations about cloud with your CEO or even with your board? What does that look like?
I don't think I use the word cloud or I use the word IT. I think it's the element about collaboration, right? So I started off saying we want to provide business value. So I look at it in based of capabilities, right? What capabilities do we want to provide? And I think for me as a leader is understanding and believing in the overall objectives, the value of where we are trying to get to, and how can technology help us deliver those goals. And that's the only way, because the world of technology these days, or as an IT leader, right, and I hate using the word IT because it sounds like 20 years ago, where we all sit in the box room and we all code and then go, oh, voila, this is what you need, to where we are today is around the element around just providing the capabilities to drive the business value out to the business. So my conversation at the board level, or even to my colleagues around technology value, is what do we need to do to help support you to achieve your outcome? And that changes it, because not only do I need to understand what they're trying to do, then I figure out what the solution that we need to do. And then the element around agility, right? Everyone's kind of going to this whole product-centric, the agility and the collaboration. Whereas before, we used to kind of go through, give me the requirements, remember those days? Yes. I write it down, and then I pass it or throw it over the fence, and then we'll give you a tech spec, and then if you're lucky, we'll give you a UI that shows this is kind of what you want and how you need to do. And then we go back to and then they check off, right? And then we go into the dark room and then we code. And it takes us 3 to 6 months. And by the time you deliver it, the business is like, oh, did I really say I wanted that?
That's not what I want.
That's not what I want.
Yeah.
And now you are having, almost quick, reactive, changing and rapid and co-designing it together. And you're becoming iterative, right? So it's incremental value over a shorter time frame. I think has the best of you. You have to have, iterative sprints to deliver those capabilities, and you have to be able to create a platform for both the business and the technology teams to work very closely together and see how they work closely to deliver the output quicker.
Well, Fumbi, this is an amazing conversation we've had. I'm so excited. I'm so glad we were able to do this. The things you've shared all resonate with the things that I hear from other customers that want to know more, right? So this has been extraordinarily good for me personally, and I think for both of our customers. So thank you so much for taking the time today.
No, thank you so much. I mean, the topics that we talked about today are near and dear to my heart, and I think it's the topics that we talk about every day. And so when you're able to co-share with another professional that understands your challenges without having to explain it, I think is even more exciting. So thank you again for coming to our beautiful facility. I hope you get to spend some time with us and enjoy maybe the trampolining. We can do that together at some point. We may be a little too old for that, but we'll try. But thank you. It's on behalf of Adidas and the team, it's a pleasure to have you, so thank you.